Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the SoFLo Sports Show. It's your host, 305 Sports Babe, co-host Lou from Dade. We are at episode 116, and I think we're at the point right now where we stop adding numbers, unless we keep going until we reach like 500.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Right, so
I like the numbers. We're tracking it, but hey, listen, NFL starts tonight.
Yes.
Right, kickoff, the world champion Philadelphia
Eagles against the Cowboys.
Hosting the Cowboys. So it all starts for real tonight. All the dress rehearsal, all the preseason stuff, that's all set and done and in the books. And we're getting ready to play football tonight.
Yeah, so happy NFL kickoff day to all of those who celebrate, which is pretty much everybody, because who doesn't love football?
Exactly. And if you missed it last night, we did our DCC fundraising square drawing of the live number, so you can watch that. It was also posted on Ash's socials, so you can definitely check that out. But your numbers are coming up here for tonight's game and tomorrow's game from Brazil, featuring the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Yeah, so guys, tonight we have a very, very special guest on our show, someone who covers the Dolphins, who knows the Dolphins, who does a fantastic job inside and out with our team. I'm really excited to have him. We're going to talk X's and O's, offense, defense, coaching, predictions, covering it all tonight. So we also want to see your predictions, your views on what we're saying. So chat is open. Definitely like and subscribe, but drop in the chat. Let us know what you think.
And if you're watching on X and Twitter, come on over to YouTube, show our guests some love, and definitely interact with us on here. Save your predictions to the end, though, because we want to definitely do an in-depth dive into what we're got going on here for the season preview. But without further ado, let's bring on our guest. He is a columnist from the Sentinel. You can also catch him on the Deep Dive podcast with David Fioranis. You can also see him on the All Dolphins pod with previous guest of the show here, Alan Poupart.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he is doing a great job covering the Dolphins. He's always out at training camps. We've seen him several times out there.
Sweating out there in training camp with us.
Even though they got those big-ass fans now, so they keep us cool.
Speak for yourself.
But without further ado, let's bring on Chris Perkins. Perk in the house.
A very special guest. I'm honored. I don't get that kind of intro often, so that's good. That's a good start. I love it. I love it.
Lou has this gift. I mean, he even made pretty much Joe Rose cry. You get all Joe Rose's credentials, and all of a sudden Joe's like sniffling. I'm like, Joe, are you okay? He's like, that was just so beautiful.
Exactly.
Well, we got to roll up the carpet for you, the red carpet for you, Chris. Come on. So
we appreciate you coming up today.
Hey, I remember when Steve Ross rolled out that orange carpet. Y'all remember that? Yeah. So I'm honored.
That's right.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right?
Oh, yes. All right, Perk, so let's get into it. This is year number 60 of Miami Dolphins football, a once proud and storied franchise. But with that, our story has a lot of pages to it. We have not reached the Super Bowl in 40 years. There has not been an AFC championship in 32 years. We haven't won an AFC East title in 16 years, and we haven't won a playoff game in 25 years. Very, very ugly, right? Very, very, very disappointing seasons, and it's kind of like, when is it really going to turn to our favor? So before we get into this year, the Dolphins are coming off a very disappointing season last year. We went 8-9, and yes, Tua went down week 2 against the Bills. So, we can blame, okay, we didn't have our starting quarterback. We had some hiccups, some backup quarterbacks come in and make a poo-poo show.
Yep. So we're gonna get to talking about Tua here, but before we do that, I want to mention the guys who are going to be protecting him, and I want to get your thoughts and your input here on specifically Jonas Avenaya, who was drafted in the 3rd round. The left side of that line, which is going to be Patrick Paul. Finally is a starter. He did a great job filling in last year, but now he's entrusted to be that lead dog on the left tackle with Jonah, the rookie, plugged in as the left guard. So what is your take with the situation? And also wanted to ask you, in terms of Austin Jackson, is he healthy and ready to go, or is he going to be a little bit limited come Sunday?
No, you know what? The offensive line is healthy and they're ready to go. Austin Jackson, saw him in the locker room today. We've seen him out at practice. He looks fine. He's in good spirit. Austin's always in good spirits, though. He's one of the good guys on the team. He's always upbeat, always has a smile on his face. So, look, I think that offensive line is going to be ready to go. The starting offensive line. When you get to the reserves, I got a lot of questions, but we'll stick to the starters right now. Look, Aaron Brewer at center, as you said, Jonas Avenaya there at left guard, Patrick Paul at left tackle, James Daniels right guard, Austin Jackson right tackle. I like what they've done with the guards there. What I hope is that they let these guys be road graders, be maulers, because, Mike McDaniel likes kind of that outside zone run. He kind of likes the finesse game. I hope they get to a physical run game. You let Ollie Gordon, the 225-pound rookie, run it up the A and the B gaps. You take it to the Colts and every other team starting on first down, first quarter, and you just shove them off the line of scrimmage. You make your presence known physically. And so that's what I hope that they allow these guards to do and this offensive line to do. And I'll say this. I like the work that Jonah and Patrick Paul did together on the left side. I think Patrick Paul is ahead of Jonah. Patrick Paul has been a brick wall out there. Hardly anybody has gotten by him. And so I really like what he's been able to do out there. We'll see what Jonah is able to do. I think his learning curve is going to be a little steeper, but I like that left side of the line. And then you go to the right side of the line. You've got a couple of veterans over there, right, with James Daniels and Austin Jackson. Daniels shows no sign of that Achilles injury lingering at this point, so that's a good thing. And then you got Aaron Brewer there in the middle. He's a team captain. This is a guy who I remember when we were on a Zoom call with him last year, when he first signed, the thing that really attracted me to Aaron Brewer was he said, I'm a headhunter out there. I'm out there looking to take somebody's head off. I was like, yeah, that's what they need. They need that attitude. So I like the starting offensive line. I think they're going to show some improvement in the run and the pass. Once you get past that, there's a lot of questions, but I like what they've done with that starting offensive line.
And what about, sorry, I know you got, but with Leon Eichenberg, I know he's much maligned down here in town, but look, the fact is he's a plug-and-play guy, could play all the positions. Center, not so much, but he pretty much, held his own on all the other spots, and so that adds a pivotalness to this team if he can come in there when need be. So any updates on him? Is he going to be able to be ready here in a couple weeks?
No updates on him. I saw him in the locker room a few days ago and dapped him up. I always talk to Liam. Liam is a good guy. Offensive line is my favorite position on the team. That's my favorite position group. I always talk to those dudes. Talked to Kendall Lamb yesterday, and really look, if they could have their ideal backups, you usually have 8 guys active for a game, your 5 starters and 3 reserves. I think ideally they would have Andrew Meyer active, but he's had the elbow surgery. I saw stitches in his left elbow. So they would have Andrew Meyer at center. They would have Liam to be a swing guard, and then they would have probably Kendall Lamb to be a swing tackle. But obviously Liam and Andrew Meyer are not healthy. I think what they're probably leaning toward right now is to have maybe Larry Borum as the swing tackle, maybe Daniel Brunskill as the center guard, and then maybe you have Kendall Lamb as the left tackle. But Kendall hasn't been there for that long, maybe a couple of weeks. Obviously, he was there for 2 years before going to Philly last year. But I think that ideally, going into this game, they probably want to have Brunskill, Borum, and Kendall Lamb as the 3 reserve offensive linemen, and then you just kind of wait for Eichenberg and Andrew Meyer to get healthy. They really liked Andrew Meyer, and I liked what we saw of him in limited time last year out in practice, undrafted rookie, and they kept him around. So I think he's got a bright future.
Now, you spoke about health, so that leads me to my next question. Darren Waller. Right? Darren Waller did not practice today.
Yeah.
Again. So should fans anticipate seeing him a lot this season? Is he going to be used as a tight end, maybe the similar way that we use Jonah? Or is it going to kind of be a flip of the coin and week by week with this man? What do you kind of see his role being, if anything? Is it going to be big, or is it kind of just going to be as needed?
I would think definitely starting him off slow because, Darren Waller hasn't had contact in over a year. I just don't understand the plan here. You know, the hip injury, we'll talk to Mike McDaniel tomorrow, and I'm sure the first question is going to be about Darren Waller and this hip injury that we just became aware of yesterday when the injury report came out, because before then, Mike McDaniel kept saying, we're bringing him along slowly. We're trying to be judicious with this. We don't want to rush him back in. We don't want his first contact to be in a joint practice. Okay, that's fine. But the guy hasn't practiced at all. And now he's got this hip injury. And, you know, I think the big fear for the Dolphins is if they would have said that he had a hip injury, everybody would have thought, oh, here's another OBJ, you know.
Exactly.
Right.
And these big names, you get excited, or a name, you're like, okay, this might fit into, you know, the team. And then for what? It just.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what they're going to do is bring him along slowly, including on Sunday. I'm not even sure he's going to be active on Sunday. But if he is, you know, offense will usually get 60 to 70 plays in a game. If he's active, I bet he only gets out there for maybe 10, 12 snaps. I might be wrong, but if the guy hasn't had contact, I just don't see how you can trust him. And he would probably be out there in certain situations. You know, he's a receiving tight end. He's not going to do you much help as a blocker. That's basically going to be Julian Hill, Tanner Connor, because he's a core special teams guy. He's also going to be active. I just don't know. You get 48 guys active on game day. I don't know if you want to keep Darren Waller active for 10 or 12 snaps. We'll find out, but I would be surprised if he was a big part of the game plan. I'm looking for a very small, specific thing from him. I don't know if he's going to be like a goal line guy or a short yardage guy, because you've already got NWI, Nick Westbrook-Akine, the receiver, to do that kind of work. So I'm not even sure what kind of role they would have for Waller, but man, this thing is just looking very, very shaky and very suspicious at this point. And we see Waller in the locker room, and he's had a smile on his face. We've talked to him and everything like that. But, you know, you got to get out there on the field.
He's positive, good attitude. He's not holding back. You know what I mean? Like, he obviously maybe wants to be there, but there's restrictions and just not.
Yeah, and it's been a while since he's been relevant. But look, when he was in his heyday playing with the Raiders a couple of years back, he's a really good route runner and great hands on him. So if he can get out there and do anything, you know, close to that, it would be benefit to the Dolphins. But as what you're saying, you got to see him going out there and doing work.
In the chat, Josephine Ebby, our viewer from Daytona Beach, Florida. My grandmother said, good thinking and suggestions. Perhaps you could give Mike some pointers.
Well, there you have it. Chris Perkins, the next head coach.
I'm telling you got a big fan up there. She wants you to give Coach Mike some pointers.
There you go.
I'm sure Mike would love that if I pull him aside and said, hey, Mike, let me holler at you for a second.
Granny told me to tell you something. Granny told me to let you know something.
Good advice. Yeah, see how that goes through. Chris, I wanted to move next to receiver. You mentioned receivers. You know, I think we're really set up nicely at receivers. Love the Washington brothers. Love D. Eskridge as staying out there. And you mentioned, NWI. So we're set up nicely. Obviously, the top two dogs are Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Yeah. And I want to talk about Tyreek Hill specifically. You know, Tyreek,
there he is.
You know, not named a captain this year. A lot of people think that was deserving, you know, based on, you know, the way last season ended and the fact that, you know, he's had some distractions here or there. Now he's saying he was okay with it. He's saying he's a changed man. But again, his track record is that, you know, every so often Tyreek has to have some kind of a episode that takes away.
It's been pretty quiet recently. Do not jinx that, Lou. Things have been pretty good.
So far, so good. Fingers crossed. But so I wanted to ask you, you know, do you feel that Tyreek can bounce back from last year's disappointing season and also, you know, keep the focus on the field and not off it with the distractions? And regardless, whether you, whatever your opinion is, do you see him coming back to the Dolphins next year, regardless of how this year goes?
Really?
Oh, boy. I don't see him. Boy, coming back next year is going to be tough because of the salary. He's going to cost them over $50 million against the cap. I don't think the Dolphins are willing to do that. And if Tyreek is 31, if you extend that contract, well, what's Tyreek going to look like at 32, 33, 34, and how much do you want to be paying him? So we'll see about that. At this point, I see this as Tyreek's last year with the Dolphins. Whether he can stay out of trouble, I don't know. I always say Tyreek's going to Tyreek, right? And so he's gonna do some stuff off the field. Yeah, you just hope he can keep it to a minimum. But when you ask me, can he get back to what he was in 2022, 2023? Heck yeah, he can. Tyreek, look, I'm 31 years in this business, okay? 18 years in NFL covering the Dolphins, 10 years covering the Heat, 3 years covering the Texas Rangers. Tyreek is one of the best and most unique athletes I've ever covered. I mean, this is a guy who's headed for the Hall of Fame. And so when he's out there on the field, when he's on the practice field, there's no doubt about his effort, his commitment, his dedication. It's just kind of the off the field stuff that you worry about, like you said, Lou. And I'll say this also, when you talk about Tyreek not being a team captain, I don't think that's so much about Tyreek. I'm thinking that that's about the other guys drawing a line in the sand and saying, we're not going for this foolishness anymore. And look, and Tyreek is going to be fine with that. He said he'd be fine with that. I believe him. As Tyreek said, I don't need that C on my chest to be a leader. I can, he can lead by example. So I don't think Tyreek is going to be shook by this team vote. And I like that it was a team vote that drew the line in the sand. This wasn't appointments by Mike McDaniel. This was other guys saying, if we want to get somewhere, we need to have better guys setting an example for us, leading us. And so that's why you get Aaron Brewer and all these other guys as your team captains and not Tyreek. I like what the team did with that vote. I think Tyreek is going to be motivated to have a good season. I think he's going to have over 1,500 yards receiving, and he's gonna be a major factor again. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
So let's talk running backs. Devon Achane. What's the most latest on him? Do you see him having a big workload Sunday, or is there going to be some restrictions on Devon Achane?
No, that's a good question. I think that Achane probably will have some restrictions on him. Although I'll say this, when we see him out there on the practice field, there's no, he's not wearing a sleeve on either calf. We don't even know which calf it is. He's not favoring either leg. So that's a good sign to me that, he's out there. He hasn't been doing everything. When we're out there, we get to watch the first 20 minutes of practice at this point because it's regular season. Training camp, we got to watch the whole practice. Regular season, we watched the first 20 minutes. I don't see him favoring any leg or anything like that. Right. But having said that, I think that their approach has been to bring all of these injured guys along slowly. So whether it's Tyreek or Austin Jackson or Achane or whoever, they've been bringing them along slowly. So I'm thinking there's, maybe a 60-40 split between Achane and Ollie Gordon II. And I like what we've seen from Ollie. But, look, here's the other thing about Achane. As you all know, he had 1,499 yards from scrimmage last year, and he had 78 receptions. So really, you can feed Ollie Gordon on a lot of these inside runs and still line Achane out into the slot as a receiver, or just have him go out on a wheel route or something like that, get him out in space, and he can do a lot of damage. I don't know how many carries he's going to have, but I think he'll have a good amount of touches. But I think it's probably a 60-40 split on carries, Achane getting the 60 and Ollie getting the 40.
So that leads me to my next question. I liked Ollie Gordon. He grew on me immediately. I feel like he's hungry. He's eager to learn. But if he gets a hot start, he starts high, is he going to get that number 2 spot after Jalen Wright?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I think he should get the number 2 spot ahead of Jalen Wright. Jalen has got the knee injury, so we're not going to see him for a little while. But Ollie brings the dimension that they need. I talked about being physical with the offensive line, with Jonah and with James Daniels, and knocking people off the line of scrimmage. That's part A of that equation. Part B is Ollie and using that 225 pounds to just run into people and knock them over. And so, Ollie is a guy who I liked what they had with Alexander Madison, but, then he has the neck injury, season-ending injury. But I like the combination of power and speed that Alexander Madison brought. Ollie brings the same thing. I've been really impressed with Ollie, and he's Jalen Wright is more speed. They've got speed with Achane. You need a change of pace. That's what Ollie Gordon is. So I think Ollie keeps that number 2 spot all year, quite honestly.
He's actually turned into my favorite draft pick, like really quick. I was like, this was a hell of a good move here.
It looks like a steal of the draft right now. So be awesome. Okay, so lastly, and the most uncomfortable.
Let's talk Tua.
The big elephant in the room here.
Not talking about me. No, just kidding.
Or me. It all comes down to Tua. Obviously, health aside, him staying on the field and making the right decisions to get down and get out of bounds and not take the hits. Can, in your opinion, Tua get back to and have a bigger season that he potentially had in 2023?
Yeah.
Can he win these big games when they count down the stretch? And can he win in cold weather? Because ultimately the stats are nice, but do you think that he could take that next step in putting up those big numbers that we saw in 23 and win those big games?
Because we play Pittsburgh in December. It's a Monday night game. It's going to be cold. So there are those games in December where we are going to need wins.
Yeah, you know what? So I'm not a subscriber to the cold weather thing. I think it's quality of opponent. And so the way that I've done this is...
Because you're from Chicago, that's why. We're not from Jersey. Cold weather don't scare us.
Exactly.
That's why.
Yeah, exactly. It's the NFL. You got to play in the cold. I'll say this. So and y'all tell me what you think about this. So when I've looked at the games and the Tua, I don't only do Tua in the Mike McDaniel era. The stuff with Flo, I just kind of disregard. So in the Mike McDaniel era, I consider cold weather for this purpose 45 degrees or below at kickoff. There's only been 4 of those games. There was the Buffalo game, two Buffalo games, the Green Bay game, and I'm forgetting another one, but
we were Kansas City.
Kansas City.
How can I forget Kansas City?
We were there. Lou lost some toes. I have only 4 fingers. Just kidding. We were there. We remember it.
Hey, there's a lot of people in Kansas City with 3 toes. You can tip them over real easy.
You're lucky with your 4, Lou.
So look, I think it's the quality of the opponent. I don't think it's the temperature at kickoff. They always lose to Buffalo, right? Up in Buffalo. They weren't going to win that Green Bay game. Again, that's the Thanksgiving game last year. You're playing a superior opponent. And the same thing with Kansas City. So I think it's more the quality of the opponent and the time of year. You guys know that the Dolphins in December and January, they don't play their best football at that time. So, but as far as Tua, here's what I say about Tua. You can win a Super Bowl with Tua, but you've got to change your strategy and your philosophy. You've got to run the ball and give Tua some help. All you're doing is relying on his left arm. He needs help. Get a run game. Force these defenses to drop that 8th man into the box, and then you're going to see a better result from Tua. One of the stats I always like to throw out there, in the last 2 years, the Dolphins are 2-10 against playoff teams. Tua has started all 12 of those games. He's got 15 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. That's not good, but that's because all these teams know all they have to do is stop the deep passing game. Neither Tyreek nor Waddle has a 100-yard game against a playoff team in the last 2 years. So you've got to be able to score with the run game. You've got to give Tua some help, make the defense drop that 8th man into the box. Then you go over the top, and then you wake up that deep passing game again. So I actually don't think it's as much Tua as it is Mike McDaniel and Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator. You've got to change strategically and philosophically, and then I think you get a better result out of Tua. You get a better quarterback.
I love it. And guys, so if you're, again, listening on Extra Twitter, come on over. Show Chris Perkins some love. We're joined by Chris Perkins from the Sentinel. He's giving us some amazing, insight and preview this upcoming season, the 60th season of Miami Dolphins football. Chris, you just talked great about Tua. And so if in fact, unfortunately it doesn't go that way and we end up, having to rely, if he's out for any extent of time, we're having to rely on Zach Wilson
or Quinn,
the backup duty. I understand that obviously, number one, it's a way upgrade over Skylar Thompson and Snoop Huntley and Tim Boyle from last year. But, Zach Wilson has had his time in the NFL. Unfortunately, has not gone well. So rightfully, though, as a veteran, you're going to pick him as your backup and let the rookie learn a little bit. But if Zach Wilson has to come in for an extended period and he does horrifically in that first game, is it a matter of just saying, okay, you got one shot at this, and then they go to Quinn Ewers? or do you think they'll settle in and give Wilson a couple starts to figure it out if, and hopefully it doesn't happen, Tua's out for some time?
I think you got to give him more than one start because it's new quarterback on a new team, new offensive system. You got to kind of let some stuff, you let them get used to it. You let them adjust to it. You go over the film with them. You try to correct the mistakes. If after 2 starts he doesn't get it done, then you get the hook, right? You bring in the rook. You bring in Quinn Ewers. But I'll say this about, again, this is more Mike McDaniel than it is Zach Wilson, because you can't keep running the same Tua offense for, Snoop Huntley and for Tim Boyle and for Skylar Thompson. Tua is uniquely qualified for this offense with the quick reads, the precision, the accuracy, the footwork. It's an offense specifically designed for Tua. When you have other quarterbacks, you've got to play to their strengths. I thought Mike McDaniel did a good job of that late last season when Snoop Huntley came back in after being injured. Matter of fact, he got injured in that Indy game because that's when Tim Boyle threw it out of bounds on 4th down.
Yes.
Oh, Tim. Yeah, we all remember that. But I think that after that, the next time that we saw Snoop Huntley against Cleveland and against the Jets, it was more of a Snoop Huntley offense. So hopefully there's a Zach Wilson offense, a Quinn Ewers offense that we see that plays to their strengths. And again, I go back to the run game. Give these quarterbacks some help. It would be more important to have a strong run game if you go to Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers, because you take some pressure off of them. And look, defensively, we know that front 7, those guys are beasts. They can take some pressure off of the quarterback also. But to me, it's a lot of this is on Mike McDaniel figuring out what can I do best for Zach Wilson and best for Quinn Ewers to make the game friendly for them.
So Miss Finn's fan of the show. She does a great job with her podcast. She said, "Oh my goodness, finally someone that says the same as me. Mike D needs to adjust his backups too. Thank you, Chris."
There we go. There we go. Winning friends and influencing people. I love it.
Chris might have to be an assistant coach. Chris, at this point, I think you've earned
Well, not my grandma wants you as the head coach, so be careful because what she wants, she gets. She said, "Holy smokes, keep cooking, Chris. So glad I'm watching this show." All right, so you started to mention defense. Anthony Weaver going into year 2.
Yeah.
He seems to get the most out of these guys, especially with all the injuries. You mentioned the front 7. Zach Sealer got paid. Then you got some explosive pass rushers, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips. Yeah. So I'm personally excited about the defense this year. I know you are as well.
Yeah. What do you think about these guys that are going to be rushing the quarterback? And hopefully, Zach Sealer going on his 2nd year in a row with double-digit sacks. How many guys on that front 7 do you think could, get double-digit sacks? They're going to be fighting for victory dances, hopefully, after getting after quarterbacks here.
Exactly. No, look, I love this front 7. I got to be careful not to overhype them. But I get excited when I see these dudes, man, because look, I had a good conversation with Benito Jones today. We were just talking football and just talking about different, because, they're going to face Quentin Nelson on Sunday, the Colts guard. And Quentin Nelson, this is a guy who's probably headed for the Hall of Fame. He's got 7 Pro Bowl appearances, 3 first-team All-Pro appearances. And so I was talking to Benito about what Quentin Nelson does so well. And so we had a good conversation. I wasn't quoting him. We were just talking. But I love this front 7. With Kenneth Grant up there alongside Benito Jones and alongside Zach Sealer. And Ashley, you mentioned the edge rushers there. And look, if you look at those inside linebackers, that might be the deepest, most talented group on the team. And I know you've got the edge rushers, but you got Jordan Brooks at one inside linebacker, Terrell Dodson at the other, and behind them, Willie Gay and KJ Britt. I mean, you are loaded there at that linebacker position. So really, and here's going to be the big key that we're going to see on Sunday. They've got to stop the run so that they can let those edge rushers eat, right? So that they can just pin their ears back and go after Daniel Jones and every other quarterback that they face. Now, look, Jonathan Taylor is a top-notch running back for the Colts. He didn't play in the game last year that the Dolphins and Colts played. Yeah. So that's going to be a different challenge. But look, this is a defense. You mentioned Anthony Weaver. They were number 4 in the league last year in defense, number 9 against the run, number 9 against the pass, number 10 in points allowed. I'm a big Anthony Weaver fan. As you said, he gets the most out of these guys. And so I think that, look, once you stop Jonathan Taylor on first and second down, now you let the big boys eat, right? And you put those pass rushers out there, and we're going to see sometimes of those 4 pass rushers, 3 of them are going to be out there at the same time, Chop and Chubb and Phillips. And so you just let those guys eat, but you got to stop the run first. And I'll say this also, when you talk about the front 7, you guys know, you mentioned the sacks that you can get from Chop and from Jalen Phillips and from Bradley Chubb. Zach Sealer is coming off the back-to-back 10-sack seasons, but Jordan Brooks led you in tackles last year at 143 or whatever. Terrell Dodson led you in interceptions with 3. So that's going to be big. I'll say this also for Terrell Dodson. He's going to have some coverage assignments against Tyler Warren, the Colts tight end, who the Colts picked the outstanding tight end out of Penn State. They picked him number 14 right after the Dolphins took Kenneth Grant at number 13. That's going to be an interesting matchup to watch, but I'm a big, big fan of that front 7. They're going to get some sacks.
It's Lucas Oil Stadium is very winnable. It's one of the stadiums we've gone to last year. Yeah. It's a must win, right? I don't want to say it's an easy win. It's a must win. So you definitely do. So I want to talk about Coach McDaniel. This morning, and as I was driving into work, I was listening to Joe Rose show. So Joe Rose had Mike. Did you hear it?
Yep, I heard
it. So I was like, all right, 6:30 in the morning. This is how I'm going to start my morning. And I'm like listening. And I don't know if you heard it, but I don't want to spoil it. But one of the questions McDaniel asked Joe Rose is like, how often do you talk to my wife? It was so funny because they're from like same towns. Right. So what I want to ask you specifically about Mike McDaniel, so Mike Grable and Aaron Glenn, this is their first year coaching in the AFC East. Do you think the pressure is really on McDaniel now that you have like these 2 newer coaches coming in, and it's kind of like, hey, if these guys get the job done quicker than you do, are you out? So how much pressure do you think McDaniel has just compared to those 2 other coaches?
A lot. The pressure is on McDaniel. The pressure is on Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. But we'll go Mike McDaniel specifically. Really the big thing with him is you had all that talent on the roster in 2022 and 2023, and you couldn't win a playoff game. And so now you've shifted the philosophy from that win now that you had back then. You got Teron and you got Tyreek and you got Bradley Chubb, to now you're going to try to win with draftees and young players. But the pressure is on to do it now. I'm not sure that you're going to get 2 years to do this. I think they're going to have a winning record this year, but you need to win a playoff game. And so to me, that's the big pressure on Mike McDaniel is it doesn't matter if Tua misses 2 or 3 games. By now, you should have a better situation at backup quarterback. You should know how to win with the backup quarterback. Doesn't matter if you get a bunch of injuries late in the year. You should be able to win in December and January. Now, look, obviously, if Tua is gone for all of December and January, or if, you're missing Chubb and Phillips and Chop in December and January, it's a different situation. There's some understanding and some leeway. But with just reasonable health, Mike McDaniel has got to bring it. He's got to bring it this year. And look, the players like and respect Mike McDaniel, and I like and respect Mike McDaniel, but this is the NFL, right? This is a grown man's league. You've got to produce some results. And to this point, relative to the talent that they've had and the resources that they've used, we haven't seen the results. So I hope Mike does good. I would like to see Mike stay. But again, this is a grown man's league. He's got to produce.
And I know Lou wanted to go back to the defense.
One of the factors that may cause them to maybe not have the season go as appropriately as they're hoping is that secondary. You got Storm Duck and Jack Jones starting now. Do you feel comfortable with the guys behind them? They're relying on guys like Ethan Bonner, recently signed Rasul Douglas, who didn't have a good year last year. And so the fact that you're going to have a secondary that with a bad Artie Burns hit, Kader Kahu going out. How do you feel that secondary could hold up? And also want to mention the safeties with Minka coming back.
Yeah.
Austin Davis scheduled as to be the other starter there. Overall, secondary, what are your thoughts, and can they hold up?
They're very shaky. They're very shaky, and it's mostly the cornerback position. Look, I really like Storm Duck. He showed us some good stuff last year. He's young, but I have confidence and faith in him. He's going to grow. I like Jason Marshall Jr., the 5th-round pick out of Florida, who's going to play the slot nickel position, replacing Cater. That other cornerback, we'll see. Jack Jones probably gets to start, but, you did get Rasul Douglas. You just signed J.J. Brents. So we'll see what they can get with that other corner. But what's going to happen is the offenses are going to say, look, the first one we're going to test is Jack Jones. You've seen Storm. The first one they're going to test is Jack Jones. Then they're going to go to Jason Marshall Jr. And we're going to see what those guys can do, because those guys are the big question marks. The safeties, I'm actually gaining more faith in the safeties the more I see them. As you said, Minka and Ashton. I think Iffy Melifonwu probably gets the start over Ashton Davis, but we'll see. You have Elijah Campbell back there also. I think you're good at safety. It's whoever's beside Minka, it's going to be a work in progress. But I think you're good there. It's the corners. And it's a passing league. The NFL is a pass-happy league. They're gonna go right at those guys. So you gotta stop the run, let those edge rushers eat, and put pressure on the quarterback. But if something goes wrong there, you got to keep your fingers crossed that these cornerbacks can hold up. I'm not sure they can get the job done. We'll see. But that to me is clearly the biggest question mark on this team, is that how are those cornerbacks going to hold up, because they're going to get tested.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned, with McDaniel, year 4, and Chris Grier, 10th year now as a GM, 20th year overall with the organization. You mentioned, are they tied at the hip? So in other words, if one, if the season doesn't go the way it's supposed to, do you anticipate them both being out, or can one of them survive if it goes all south?
Essentially, Miss Finn said, Chris, what about Grier? Does he last if we don't win a playoff game or even make the playoffs?
I've got them tied at the hip. I've got them tied at the hip, for better or for worse. So if one stays, they both stay. If one goes, they both go. And, here's my problem with splitting them up, because if you get let's just say that you fire Chris Grier and you keep Mike McDaniel, I'm not sure that a new GM wants to come in here having Mike McDaniel and Tua. I think you always want to bring in your own people. And if you keep Grier and fire Mike McDaniel, well, it's the same deal. The new head coach might look and go, yeah, but Chris Grier hasn't won a playoff game. Why are you giving me this guy to control my fate? And so I think it's just easier if you do a clean sweep with both of them. They both stay or they both go. Who knows what Steve Ross is thinking, because he hasn't spoken publicly in a long time. I know he did the preseason. Yeah, Steve Ross has got his other thing. And I'll say this about Steve Ross. I actually do think that he's a good owner, because he does the two things you want your owner to do. He opens up his checkbook and he lets the football people make the football decisions. Now, the bad thing about Steve Ross is he makes bad hires, right? He's in charge of hiring the GM. He's in charge of hiring the coach, really. Yeah. And that hasn't worked out for the Dolphins under Steve Ross's ownership. So you can blame Steve Ross for that. But look, I don't want Steve Ross there every day managing the team like he's Jerry Jones or something, right? So yeah, you stay up there and do Hudson Yards, Steve Ross, in New York. You let your football people take care of the football, but really everybody's got to improve in this organization, right? Starting with Steve Ross, going to Chris Grier, and going to Mike McDaniel.
So that's a very, very good point. It's like, Steve Ross, stay in your lane. But the good news is Stephen Ross is a viewer of the show, and we're all making a push for you to be a coach. So if he listens and he makes the hires, just kidding. Maybe he is. Who knows? Maybe he does. So before we let you go, I do want to jump into predictions. Yeah. You, like I, have seen predictions all over the place, right? We've seen the 1-16, and we've seen the 5-win season. We've seen the 500. So it just seems like everyone is all over the place with their predictions. We've even seen some people say, hey, we're going to win 12 wins, and this is going to be a great year. But what do you think the record is for our 2025 Dolphins season? Do you think we're going to make the playoffs? And even more, who's your Super Bowl prediction? Let's take it a step further.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, start with Dolphins and take me a step further, but hopefully your next step further includes the Dolphins.
Okay. Well, let me say this before I make the prediction. Special teams. You've got a new special teams coach in Craig Ackerman. Danny Crossman is out. Jason Sanders is sidelined, as you all know, and the significance of that is Jason has basically kicked you into the playoffs under the McDaniel era, right? You remember that Jets game that they won 11-6 in 2022, that Jason Sanders kicks the game-winning field goal, and then you remember basically the Dallas game in 2023 where they win 22-20 and Jason Sanders kicks 5 field goals. Jason Sanders has made 27 straight field goals. That's the longest active streak in the NFL. So we'll see if the new kicker, Riley Patterson, is up to the task. Talked to him the other day. Really nice guy. Matter of fact, he was in New England with the long snapper, Joe Cardona, and the punter/holder, Jake Bailey. So there's some familiarity there. But, yeah, Riley Patterson, I'm expecting this to be a close game on Sunday. I picked the Dolphins to win 17-13. So I think Riley Patterson will be a key. Going to the full season prediction, I'm picking the Dolphins to go 9-8. And so, they should have a winning record. I really think they should. You've really got to watch the December-January schedule, but that's what I'm thinking is that they do have a winning record. Now, 9-8 probably doesn't get you a playoff berth. 9 wins did get you a playoff berth in 2022, however. I'm not sure that it's going to get it this year, but we'll see. So I'm saying 9-8. I know a lot of the national people are saying 5 wins, 6 wins, and all that. They should have a winning record this year. That's what I think. They have that much talent. I'm more worried about the depth than the starters. And then Super Bowl, I'm trying to think, who did I pick for the Super Bowl? I made this prediction. I think I said Kansas City and Detroit is who I think I said, but I'm not going against Patrick Mahomes until either Josh Allen can beat Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson can beat Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. I like Joe Burrow, but this guy has no defense. His offensive line is really shaky. He had a great year last year. I know that they did it before, but I got to ride that Mahomes wagon, man. So that's it. So and I like Dan Campbell in Detroit, the former Dolphins coach. I mean, we used to call him Man Campbell. But so that's what I'm liking for the Super Bowl.
So you guys heard from Perk, 9-8 season, and although he's saying that the Dolphins will not be going to San Francisco in February, it's still going to be a pretty good season.
Yeah, no, listen, winning record. Hopefully, at the end there, they have a shot at a playoff.
Win a playoff game, please.
Have a shot at a playoff spot because unfortunately, even the last game of the season last year against the Jets meant nothing once the Denver Broncos destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs. So what you want to at least have is the chance to control your own destiny. And if you're 9-8, I believe they may have that chance. So we'll see. But listen, Chris, we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight.
They want to know. I love your takes, Chris. Where can we hear more?
Yes. So
they want to hear that. Where can they find you?
By now, if you don't know, he's going to tell you, but you should know already. Chris, again, thanks for joining us. And please let everybody out there know how they can find you and stay in touch with all the great stuff you're doing.
On Twitter, I still call it Twitter because I'm old enough to remember when it was Twitter, right? It's at Chris Perk. But you can find my podcast, Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. It's on YouTube. We go every Tuesday at noon. Me and my coworker, David Feronis, we have a lot of fun on the show. And I'm also on All Dolphins with Alan Poupart, different days of the week. So, you can catch me all over the place.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Wish you a great season covering the team ahead. And, hopefully, we talked to Alan Poupart. You mentioned him about it. It's a lot funner, I'm sure, when the team is winning, right? Because, yes, distractions are fun. A good buddy of ours as well, Antoine Staley, who covers the Jets. That was a fiasco last year, with Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers craziness. So, yes, the saga might be fun to cover as a columnist, but it's always better for business and for everybody's morale when a team's winning. So hopefully there's a lot of that this year, and I wish you great luck covering the team. We're looking forward to seeing everything you got.
We look forward to seeing your content and seeing you this season.
Yeah, and y'all mentioned two of my boys. You mentioned two of my boys, Antoine Staley and Poop. So yeah, that's good.
Antoine and I go back way back in the day. He's very good friend. He's on our show last week.
Yep, last week.
A very good friend of mine. He's coming back for the Monday night game.
Excellent. Yeah, he'll be down.
He'll stay down here forever. Jets can't have him back.
Nice. All right. Yeah, and covering a winner is much more fun. Players are in a better mood. Fans are in a better mood. You don't want to cover a losing team. That's bad. Our numbers go way down when the team is losing. When they're winning, our numbers are way up. So we want winners.
That's journalism 101 there.
That's it.
Awesome, Fergal. We appreciate your time tonight. Go enjoy the Eagles and the Cowboys game tonight. Who you got winning that game real quick?
Oh, I got the Eagles. I mean, if Jerry Jones wins after trading Micah Parsons, I don't know what to think about this league.
Yeah, right.
All right, Chris, you take care. Have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
All right, see y'all. Thanks.
Well, that was awesome.
He is so much fun.
Yes.
And the fans love him. The fans, everybody loves him. Everybody.
No, he did a fantastic
great
job.
Info, Chris. Adrian's there.
Adrian from the Radio Day Pod. Miss Fins from the Miss Fins
Caps
Show.
in the house. Crazy Dolphin. He's okay. So guys, let's switch gears here. So you heard his prediction, right? He said a 9-8 season. What do you guys now? You have to say it now because our season starts this Sunday, so you can't go back and be like, "Oh, I meant this."
Yeah, go on
in
record.
The chat right now. Come in the chat and let us know. And Papa Paul, he called me this morning. We had a little talk this morning, Papa,
Sweet,
or was
Papa
it yesterday?
Paul.
I don't even know what day. Maybe it was yesterday, but I know we talked yesterday or today. So guys, in the chat right now, drop your season prediction. This is a safe zone. It's like Planet Fitness. Judgment-free zone. Drop those predictions of what you honestly think.
Yep, and we're gonna give you ours.
But I want to know theirs too.
Do you want me to start? Or you want to start?
Let them come through. Let them give it a second. Let them come through.
While they're doing that, I'm going to give my prediction.
All right, go for it.
Here's what I got so far. I think, look, it's a tough schedule. We actually brought it up here.
I got you.
The schedule's a tough schedule, but it's not tough early on. Yes, we play at Buffalo week 3. That'll be a tough game, but you got the Jets at home. You got the Patriots at home in week 2. You got to win those games. Carolina, they're not ready to win yet. The Chargers is a home game. The Cleveland Browns, they don't know who their quarterback is or what they're doing.
And it's an October game. Yeah.
Correct. So the Dolphins have got to win early on. They got to take care of business because the back end of the schedule is tough. You got, as we mentioned, you got 2 cold weather games, one at Pittsburgh on Monday night, and you close the season at New England. I think New England is going to get better as the weeks go along.
Yeah.
They're well coached now, and so that game's going to be tough to win.
But even a Spain game in middle of December, middle of the season in November.
But I'm talking about towards the end of the year.
I'm talking the whole season.
You got those 2 games, and then you also got 2 major quarterbacks coming down here. Joe Burrow, who might be the biggest gunslinger of them all, and Baker Mayfield, who's won a lot of games with Tampa. They're coming to the Rock, so they're going to have to find a way to at least win one of those games and not both. So I'm saying that it's going to be a 10-7 season. I hope it doesn't come down to the last game against New England, but I got the Dolphins finishing at 10-7 based on that early season, hopefully getting off to a good start. I have them making the playoffs. Unfortunately, look, the way to win in this league is to win your division and host home games. At 10-7, we're not going to win the division because Buffalo's too good, and we're going to end up being on the road for that wild card game, either as a 6th seed or a 7th seed. And so I don't see us, unfortunately, ending the streak and winning the playoff game.
All right, so I'm going to go in the room. Mike, over on the West Coast, 8-9. Crazy Dolphin, 7-10. So those are 2 records below 500. Miss Fins, 9-8 is most likely record. 6-11 she could see. Max 12-5. Russ dropping in. By the way, the Eagles will not be on the field tonight for the banner.
Wow.
Ooh. Agreed. Lose on the Patriots. Okay, so we're kind of the majority of us are at that 500 mark or below it. We're not seeing like a 12-win season.
Yeah, remember, it can't be 500. 500 means you're hovering around that, but you got to finish with unless you tie.
17 games.
Yeah,
obviously
17
odd number
games.
names.
So, right.
Okay, and then who's that? Mr. Old School said if you can't seriously compete in your division, then
that's
everything
exactly
else
it. That's exactly it. And if I may,
yeah, of course.
It's not just competing in your division. You got to finish second because let's be real. Aaron Glenn is a new coach, first year of the Jets, and Mike Vrabel is a first-year coach of the Patriots. They got to implement their program and their coaching schemes. McDaniel has a head start on them. So he cannot let the Patriots and the Jets catch up. Unfortunately, I think the Jets or the Patriots will, take over that division soon enough because they are set up nicely on the defensive side of the ball. I like their quarterback in Drake May, and I love their coach. So, but McDaniel and the Dolphins cannot let those two rookie coaches lead them in the division.
So my prediction, Miami Mike, I'm exactly where you're at, right? I'm at that 8 and 9. I don't think we're going to be above 500, and I don't think we're going to make the playoffs this year, unfortunately, right? I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't think. 8 is kind of where I'm at with you with that 8 and 9 record. So we'll see. Any other predictions in the room? 9 and 8 would make us 500 in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
that's a very good point as well. All right, guys. Last thing I want? Well, one more thing.
Super Bowl.
Exactly. Let's teleport ourselves to February, and now it's February. Who do you guys see in the Super Bowl this year in San Francisco? What are your Super Bowl predictions? I'll start with mine.
Go ahead.
I don't think the Chiefs. I don't see the Eagles in it. Right? Let's just flop them out. I see the Lions. I see Dan Campbell. This is the year. He's every year he's kind of chugging up. This is the year where he really stamps it. I see them going against the Ravens.
Okay.
Lamar is Lamar. Lamar's going to do Lamar things, and I think this is the year that Lamar, San Francisco as well. So I think it's going to be the Lions, and I think it's going to be the Ravens.
And who do you got winning?
I would like to see the Lions over the Ravens, personally. The Lions over the Ravens.
Lions.
I'm a Dan Campbell girl. I like them.
Okay,
I think
you might have cheated off my notes, but I also see the Lions getting to Santa Clara, I should say. Unfortunately, as a Dolphin fan, I see the Bills. I see the Bills finally punching through the AFC and getting to San Francisco. Just because I cannot root for the Bills, I'm going to say the Lions will beat them. But I got Lions, I got Detroit and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. Hopefully Detroit wins. I do not want to see Josh Allen and the Bills raise that Lombardi.
Miami Mike has Kansas City and Detroit. All right, so you're riding the Detroit train with us. I like that. Mr. Old School, Eagles, Ravens. So you're riding the Ravens train with me. Eagles could definitely be there. Again, that's without a doubt. Miss Finn's Ravens as well. Okay, no, she definitely says Ravens. Oh, Ravens and Redskins. Wow, okay. And then nice. Eagles. Another Ravens, Crazy Dolphin, Ravens, and Lions. So you're with me there. I like that. Papa Paul, I'm hoping I can actually hear his voice saying this too. I can so see him and hear him saying this. I hope I'm wrong, but I only see us at 6 and 11.
Yeah.
And then Crazy Dolphin has the Ravens Super Bowl champs this year.
Okay.
So
yeah, they're one of the favorites. They're one of the favorites. Most of the favorites are coming from the AFC side with obviously the Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs, the Eagles as well, and the Lions in the NFC. But those are your pretty much your 5 and pretty much everything that everybody mentioned, except for Miss Finn's saying the Redskins. So we'll see how that goes. So, all right, well, guys, last thing we got for you is we want to announce our contest. We are going to be doing a contest. Every week we're going to be asking a question, and then based on that question, if you guess that question correctly, you will get a point.
Wait, repeat that. You said it really fast. We're starting a new contest.
Yep.
SoFLo Sports Show starting today, now. And the contest will be...
We're going to ask you a question. We're about to ask you the question right now. You'll have a chance to put your question down in the chat. Okay.
For your answer.
Correct. Put your answer down in the chat, and then we will give you a point if you guess it correct. Some of the weeks we may do a bonus question, so you have a chance to pick up more points. The person with the most points at the end of the year after week 18 will get a prize. Not sure what the prize is yet.
Well, we've given away tickets before, autographs, memorabilia. So you definitely want to be in the contest to win something really cool.
Yeah. So, and again, you have to tune in because we're going to ask the question at the end of the show. You have to, make sure you make your question count, your answer count on the chat.
Yeah.
So again, if you are on X or Twitter, come on over to YouTube, voice your opinion, answer the question on here so your vote can count, and we'll go from there. The first question is very easy.
All right, so guys, get in the chat. Here we go. First question.
First question is, will the Dolphins beat the Colts? It's a layup question.
Yes or no?
Yes or no. So you're going to get a point if you select yes and the Dolphins win. If you think they won't win and you put no and the Colts end up winning, you'll get a point for that as well. While you're doing that, we'd love to see you emphasize it by putting your score prediction for this Sunday. So we heard Chris Perkins, our guest tonight, say Dolphins 17, Colts 13. What do you got?
I think the Dolphins are going to win week 1. I like 24-10.
Nice. Okay. I also like 24. I got them 24-7. So it's closer with you, but I got Dolphins winning 24-7. So there you go. Just go ahead and just answer that question. Will the Dolphins beat the Colts on Sunday?
Everyone's yeses.
Okay, we're writing it down. Mr. Old School's throwing in a score. I love it. Throw in that
Mike,
score.
Yes. Miss Fins, yes. Papa, Paul, yes. Okay, so let's talk some scores. Mr. Old School, 24, Colts 14. All right, so you're with us on the 24. Miami Mike, 31-27. Okay.
Shootout in Indy. Look at that.
Crazy Dolphin, yes. Miss Finn, 17-10. Okay. So we're all in agreement that we're going to win Sunday. So speak that into existence.
Okay.
And now we're working on our score predictions. We said Miss Finn, 17-10. So guys, give you another minute on that. Score predictions for this week. It is a 1 o'clock kickoff. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. We mentioned before that we were there last year. Great stadium. Great stadium. Fans are super chill there. Weather's going to be beautiful, even though it's indoors, but still just a walk there.
And look, they're already set up nicer than we were at because, as we mentioned with Chris Perkins, we ended up being there for a Snoop Hundley start and a Tim Boyle finish because Hundley got knocked out of the game. So the fact that Tua's going to be playing under center is a lot better than what we saw out there, and so they should be able to handle it.
Two more here. Papa Paul, 31-10. Crazy Dolphin, 30-21. I just want to clarify. Do you want them to write in the chat or in the comment section? So if you're here
for this week, you could do both. So if you happen to watch this on the replay right now, go ahead and enter for the first couple weeks, just because it's a brand new contest and we are going to promote it a little better. We will give you the opportunity to also, after the show is over, you can put it in the comment section, obviously before kickoff. And we will grant that and count that as a vote as well. Absolutely.
All right. Josephine Ebby says, yes, they will win.
All right. We got her
quick on that, guys. We are hosting a watch party this week. Our watch party is at Tortugas in Flagler Beach. It is in North Central Florida. It's our favorite sports bar and restaurant right across the street from the beach. So if you are in North Central Florida and want to hang out with us this Sunday for a watch party, it's going to be baskets for DCC. It's a great atmosphere, delicious food and drinks. Come over to Tortugas in Flagler Beach. We will be there watching the Dolphins game. Sound to be on, and it is a great atmosphere. So everyone is welcome.
It most definitely is. It's in North Florida, which is Jaguars country.
Yeah.
But the owner of the bar, a friend of ours, Scott Fox.
Excellent.
He is a huge Dolphin, huge Miami fan. I got a big Hurricanes fan. By the way, shout out to the Hurricanes again. Ranked number 5th now after beating Notre Dame. So, it's going to be a great time.
Hang out with us.
If you're in the area, definitely come hang out and watch the game there with us. If you know anybody in the North Florida area, let them know. That's the spot to be to watch that Dolphin game on Sunday at 1 p.m.
All right, we're going to close predictions now. Just last one. Josephine Ebby says 24 Dolphins, 17 Colts. That's what you said.
That's what I said.
All right, so you get tied up. All right, guys, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, we had Chris Perkins on the show tonight. We had a fantastic show with him. So many of us agree with everything he's saying. He's just a breath of fresh air. And, he's been covering the Dolphins for 17 years. And so he, has a great relationship with the players. So it was really great to hear from him tonight. And we look forward to following his content all season.
Yep. And Ms. Finn says that the first time since 2006 that all three, FSU, UF, and UM are in the top 15. It's been a while. One of them has been at the top, but not all three. So that's a big deal. But yes, most definitely thank Chris Perkins for joining us tonight. He told it like it is. Sometimes people don't want to hear it, but he pretty much spoke exactly the way it should be. So that's a big deal. And once again, if you are just tuning in or on the way out or listening to this on the replay, definitely drop your prediction
in the comments at that point.
Drop it in the comments after the show's over. If the Dolphins will beat the Colts, yes or no, simple. And we will log your votes and have a leaderboard for you during next week's show. But we're super excited that football's here.
We are.
Like I said, the official start to the season starts
in 20 minutes.
An hour and 20 minutes.
Who's counting?
We are pumped up to see that game. And, man, it'd be great to one of these years have the Dolphins open up the NFL season while raising a banner, the first banner since 1973 in our stadium at Hard Rock.
Yeah.
So hopefully one of these days we can also open up the season and be on NBC6 starting it off.
I'm just thinking 8:20 games are hard for me during the week, man. For those people who wake up early like me, 6 o'clock.
We got a couple of them this year. We got a Monday night. We got a Thursday night.
Let me get my practice in tonight
ready.
then. I know. Let me start practicing tonight. I think I'll make it, I'll say start a 4th. But if not, you shug me in.
There you go.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And hopefully we will see you Sunday at Tortugas Bar and Restaurant in Flagler Beach, Florida.
Yep. So then, go Fins.
It's up, baby.